Creation myths. I love them personally, and I know they're full of big ideas about the starts of universes and the beginning of existence as we know it, and it can just kind of make your brain go a little bit. But I thought what I would record today is directly related to that. And if you haven't read the Silmarillion yet, or ever, or you've dipped into it a little bit, you'll know that the first few chapters are dedicated to the creation of the world, Middle-earth, Arda, and Ea, the universe. In fact, those first few chapters were drafted out by j.r.r. Tolkien, but it was actually Christopher Tolkien who completed them after Tolkien had passed away. I love the idea of gods and their realms of influence and how that comes to shape any fantasy world, really, or even the world that we live in. I love Roman mythology, Greek mythology, all that stuff. So how about today we get into the creation of Arda, Middle-earth, and how it all came to be in the space of 10 minutes? Might be a bit more, I don't know. We'll try our best. Shall we get into it? Let's get into it. It all begins with Eru Ilúvatar, who is the first being to ever be named in creation. And he exists before anything else does, before time, before space, just as a concept he's kind of drifting out there. This being, Ilúvatar, makes the Ainur, or the Holy Ones, and the Ainur are literally manifestations of his thought and his will. So his thoughts and his concepts made into living beings. So out there in the emptiness, we have Ilúvatar and we have the Ainur, and nothing else has been made at this point, no other creations. But what Ilúvatar teaches the Ainur is the music. Usually we say that in this sense with a capital M. Is this music literal music? I don't know, I like to think so, because music in itself is such a beautiful, primal way of communicating. And the way Tolkien describes it in choruses and themes, I can fully believe that before any speech was created or discovered, all we had was the beautiful sound, the music that created everything. So the music is the Ainur's life and their work taught to them by Ilúvatar, and over time it matures along with them. Everything is filled with the music, and over time they all come together to create the first theme. Remember, at this point, the Ainur are manifestations of specific aspects of Ilúvatar's thought and ideas, and to begin with, they were only aware of themselves, their own existence and their own theme that they were assigned to, the single aspect of thought that they were. But over time of listening to the music and contemplating quite a lot, they soon become aware of each other and aware of each other's themes and what the others are related to and specifically assigned to. After some time of letting everyone absorb the first theme and think about it for a little bit, Ilúvatar decides that it's time to take action and create the first grand design. And this grand design, yes, it comes from his thought, but with the Ainur being extensions of his thought, it's in their charge to carry out what is in his mind. It's actually worth noting here that while the Ainur are aspects of Ilúvatar's thought, they are living beings and they have their own freedom of a sort. So they have their own minds, their own thoughts and ideas, but the ultimate goal for them is to carry out Ilúvatar's designs. So all is good for a while, but eventually we learn of Melkor, who is one of the Ainur and the first to actually be named, and many believe the greatest in power. He knows much of Ilúvatar's mind and his thoughts, but he's also impatient and he acts like a child. He doesn't want to spend time learning about the themes of the music and elaborating on them like the rest of the Ainur, but instead he begins thinking of certain musical ideas and themes that can belong just to him, his own, what he thought at the time, private thoughts, and he begins to develop them by himself. His goal with all of this is to manifest his own individual ideas and make them real and tangible in the world, and basically to bring and create life. But the problem is, no one can create life and beings except Ilúvatar himself. As a result of all this and his acting out, when the Ainur come together to elaborate on the great theme and they begin to build a beautiful chorus, Melkor also joins in. But his theme is more discordant than the rest. It doesn't really fit. And this disrupts the overall harmony of the rest of the Ainur. In fact, it's said that the reason that his theme didn't fit in with the rest was exactly because he spent so much time alone. His theme was unique and selfish in a way, and not designed to work with everyone else. This could even be considered one of the first battles of this universe, the battle of music and of themes, and Tolkien describes it really beautifully, actually. Beautiful and deep and wide, but also full of immeasurable sorrow, against Melkor's loud, vain, and endlessly repeated ideas. But despite Melkor's best efforts, he could not disrupt the great music. Instead, the most triumphant and strongest notes of his theme were actually woven into the great chorus. Literally woven into the pattern of the great theme itself. So, was he acting out after all? Was it always part of Ilúvatar's plan? Considering that Melkor came from Ilúvatar's thought as much as the rest of the Ainur. Eventually, further down the line, Melkor's actions and the discordance of his theme would attract some of the Maiar, who are lesser spirits and beings of Ilúvatar's thought, and they would be drawn to him and his ideas. Some of those that you might know are the Balrogs, and also Sauron, who was himself a Maiar. The thing is, this keeps happening. Ilúvatar creates a second theme and a third theme, but no matter what, Melkor is always there to disrupt the chorus and the music in one way or another. Until finally, Ilúvatar gets completely fed up and has had enough, and he puts an end to Melkor's meddling with a single chord, deeper than the abyss and higher than the firmament. This also ends the great music, but that's not the end of everything. In fact, Melkor was actually ashamed that he had made Ilúvatar angry, and from that shame, he didn't actually learn any lessons. He just became angrier and angrier. Eventually, time passes, as much as it can in a space where time just doesn't exist at all, but you get what I mean. Ilúvatar would show the Ainur a grand vision, just a glimpse of it though. A vision of what their great theme would look like when it was manifested into reality. Basically, it was a template of history, everything that has ever happened and will happen. But just like a little glimpse, he doesn't give away all of his secrets to the Ainur. And he showed them a universe that would exist inside time, which as a concept didn't exist, as I mentioned, but it was like this little bubble that he had formed in his mind of what they would create. Of course, the Ainur are great at sitting and thinking and contemplating, and so they took a lot of time to contemplate what this vision meant and how their individual themes would fit into this grand scheme that Ilúvatar had set out for them. At the same time, Melkor also notices that those notes from his discordant theme are part of the vision and woven into it, so what he thought was his own free will and his private thoughts were part of the grand plan anyway. He could not create anything separate to what Ilúvatar had designed. So with this in their minds, the Ainur turn their attention to the third theme and the children of Ilúvatar, those beings that would eventually become the Eldar and the Edain, or the Elves and men. The Ainur see that there are visions of things to come that are completely out of their control, and that they did not compose themselves, or that perhaps they did compose, but forgot or didn't understand at the time. With this vision, they were also shown the earth, or Arda, if you prefer to call it that. All of the Ainur, including Melkor, fell in love with Arda. Everything that it was and could be, and all the million possibilities that would come out of this tiny little planet. Though, of course, Melkor's first instinct was to dominate Earth and the children of Ilúvatar, whereas with the Ainur, they wanted to nurture it and grow beautiful things and for everything to be happy. But no, Melkor just can't help himself, ever, it seems. They can see the brightness of the light that is to come and hear the sound of water, which they believe to be the closest sound to that of their collaboration, and bringing the themes of the music together. Speaking of water, Ulmo is the second of the Ainur to be named, and also my favourite Valar, I have to say. He's also one of the strongest in power after Melkor. He has the most education and understanding of the music, and with Ilúvatar's observation, notes that water is so powerful that not even Melkor's meddling can destroy it. He can attack it with heat or cold, but it becomes snow, frost, clouds, rain, many beautiful different things, but it can never be destroyed. In any case, Ilúvatar's vision ends before any of the Ainur can comprehend it fully. Like I said, he keeps his secrets. But mostly because the idea is for the Ainur to grow and know themselves, and figure out their place in this universe and what they can contribute to it. So they do know a lot about the past, the present, and the future, and the universe as a whole, but not everything. So the vision is taken away from their understanding, and time begins. Ilúvatar takes the great themes of all of the Ainur, Melkor included, and makes them manifest, so tangible into reality. Everything is material and real, and he names it Ea, the universe. Because so many of the Ainur love their creation so much, a lot of them, especially the most powerful ones, choose to descend into Ea and look after their universe from within. So they descend into Ea and promise to nurture everything that is grown there, but on the condition that their lives are connected to the life and existence of the universe. Those Ainur that descend into Ea and exist in and around Arda are known as the Valar. So they've literally been a part of existence since the dawn of time and before. From here, the Valar that descended into Ea start a struggle to make everything manifest that they had dreamed of and complete their fates. It's a struggle, but they spend the time shaping the tangible universe into everything that they dreamed and sang about when the music first began. In fact, when they enter Ea for the first time, they find that there's literally almost nothing there, and they have to labour to create everything that Ilúvatar had promised them from scratch, pretty much. The primary Valar responsible for this were Manwë, Ulmo, Aule, and Melkor, but we'll go into them in detail, I think. That's probably going to be my next Lord of the Rings related video. Deep dive on all of the Valar and what they are and their spheres of influence and what they do. Of course, while the others labour, Melkor is there trying to undo everything, uproot all of their good work, and he just generally wants to claim Arda specifically as his own domain. Manwë, who is the king of the Valar and the lord of air, summons loads of forces to himself. Spirits like the good Maiar, for instance, and even though Melkor continues to battle against him, in the very first battles recorded within time, the earth, Arda, is finally finished. And that's where I'll pause for now. There's a lot of history going into the making of the world itself. So now you know what Tolkien's universe was like before anything existed, and right at the dawning of time, how it all came to be in the first place. In the next video, I'll go into a little bit more detail about each of the Valar and what they do and how they all relate to each other. And then perhaps from there I'll make this into a bit of a series and chronicle the creation of Arda, maybe even up to the dawning of the children, the first and the second. That's something to think about. In the meantime, I have 2 questions for you down in the comments. First of all, who is your favourite of the Valar, if you have any idea at all? I know mine is Ulmo, but I have a few favourites. And the second question is, do you think Melkor was fully responsible for the discordance and the just childishness of his actions, or was it all part of Ilúvatar's plan in any case? Was he always meant to be like this, or was it his free will speaking? I'd be really interested to know what you think, but thank you so much for watching in the meantime. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this and subscribe if you haven't already. It means the world to me as always. I'll look forward to reading your comments down below, and I'll get to making that Valar video. I love talking about the gods, so look forward to that. And I'll see you in the next video.